And when we bought the house, there was 4 people. Had a son and a daughter living at home. And but the kids moved out. They got married. They moved out. David moved out a little before he got married, but nevertheless, we've got one room in the house, and Colin calls it the hunt room. And so needless to say, while I was in that room, it's got rods and reels. It's got gun safes. I've got a desk in there. I've got some deer heads mounted, hanging on the wall, different things. It's guy stuff. But the other day, Colin and I were getting ready to start preparing for deer season, and we went in there, and Sister Kathy's a good housekeeper, but that's my room. And she can close the door on it. She don't have to look in there. But we went in there trying to find things, and we still had things laying in the floor from last deer season. So we got to hunting. We couldn't find it. Just a little card reader. I knew it was in that room, but I couldn't find it. Today I walked in there and moved some more stuff around, put a few things away, and I found it. But I thought, it's a lot of times that's the way, I'm just saying going what I'm preaching, but a lot of times that's the way we are with life. Yeah. And with things in our life. Brother Ewell was talking about the scars in heaven, and he said the only scars in heaven will be his. Brother Ewell, they'll be our scars, but they're in his hands.
That's right.
They're scars that we deserve, but they're in his hands.
That's right.
But I begin to think, a lot of times we have things in our lives that we accumulate. But if we're not careful, we can just close the door on it and seem to forget about it. When we really need to get in there and just straighten the things up. And Sister Kathy went there today and she said, something's got to be done with his room. And she's right. Everything in there belongs to me or Colin. He, a lot of the things in there is his. And he's as bad as I am. We'll go in there and we'll just lay it down. And she said, something's got to be done with this room. And I thought sometimes we get the same way in our life. Something has just got to be done. And as I began to think about that, I thought several years ago, most of you know Darla Brock, married my cousin Michael, and she worked there where I worked at Uncle Charlie's, and I believe it was at Thanksgiving. We'd always have a little dinner, and Paul Howard was a preacher, and he's Wesleyan, but he's a good holiness man. We'd bring our guitars and different things, we'd sing and on our lunch break, or after we got done with work. But Darla, one day she was singing that song, The Secret Place. And they would sit there and everybody listened to us sing. But she started singing that song about there's a place in my heart that even I won't go. Right. And the tears started flowing off those sinners. And they got up and they started hitting the break room door and going outside. Because nobody wants to recognize the things that got the door closed on. And it got nothing to do with what I've got on my mind to preach tonight. But I thought, let's make sure that everything can be opened. Sister Kathy's not going to invite somebody over and me leave that door open in that bedroom and the shape it's in. It's David's old bedroom, so that door was closed the whole time we lived there. But I thought, but yet there's things that we need to keep the door closed. They're just not keep closed up, but open the door. And I thought today this morning, she was getting ready. She likes to work puzzles. And there was a stool there in the kitchen, and I'd been working on something, and I brought a drill in the house, or a screw gun. And I don't know, I had a couple things, screwdriver or something there on that stool. And she said, I need you to do something with your stuff. She said, I know you ain't got very many places to put it, but I need you to do something with it. I've got a 20 by 40 garage. I've got a 10 by 10 building. I've got that room. But but yet things begin to overflow on us if we don't keep things in check.
That's right.
And I appreciate the Lord. Brother Yule brought that to my mind, and I thought, I don't want to hide nothing
That's right.
from nobody, and I sure don't want to try to hide nothing from God. Because I know His all-seeing eye already sees it. So ain't no need trying to hide it.
That's right.
Amen. But if you want to turn your Bibles to the book of Matthew, chapter 16, and I've got a thought on my heart. It's been on there for a couple of days, and we'll see what the Lord has for us. Matthew 16, we'll start reading at verse 21. It said, from that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be killed and be risen again third day. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art offended, or an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, If any man will come unto me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. And what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Thank you for standing for the reading of the word. We find here that Jesus is telling his disciples of the things that's fixing to take place. And Peter, the Bible says he began to rebuke Jesus.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to hear that. He become well acquainted with the Lord, and he wanted him to always be there with him. But as I begin to think about that, Peter enjoyed the notoriety, if you would, of being one of the disciples of Jesus. He enjoyed the miracles that was taking place. No doubt he enjoyed listening as our Savior began to teach. I don't know about you, but I sure enjoyed that teaching this morning. Usually I'm upstairs, and we didn't have no students this morning, and so I came down and got to listen to Brother Yule teach, and I enjoyed that. I enjoy good sound teaching. Whether it be Brother Sparks, Brother Horn, whoever's teaching, I enjoy that. And so none of that. Peter enjoyed listening to him teach, and no doubt he was enjoying appealing to the things of the flesh of every day, of getting to be there and with the Lord. And so when he begins to hear of the things that's getting ready to take place, he begins no doubt to be troubled. And I thought, so the problem was if I could tonight, Peter was feeding on the wrong part of following after Christ.
All right, man.
He was feeding on what Peter was gaining from it on the natural side rather than the spiritual side of what Peter needed to be looking into. Because all the time Christ had been telling them these things is fixing to take place. And I thought if I could tonight, I'd title this for a few moments, A Spiritual Appetite. And I thought it's important that we have an appetite.
Right.
I thought because without an appetite, you do not desire to eat. I thought, I was talking to Brother Nelson this morning. Most of you know that when COVID hit, and I lost my taste and smell, and it never did come back right. And because of that, I didn't have much of an appetite. If you bite into something and it's repulsive to you, you don't desire to eat it. And I lost a lot of weight. I told Brother Nelson this morning, after church, Sister Kathy fixed gravy and biscuit this morning, and I ate 4.5 biscuits with gravy on it. So that almost 40 pounds that I got rid of won't stay home very long when you eat like that. But what has caused that is I've always loved gravy, but I couldn't eat it because it didn't taste good to me. I had lost my appetite for it. There wasn't very much that I could eat, the appetite. And I thought, a lot of times if we're not careful, I found myself eating a lot of things that really wasn't good for me.
Right.
If it was real, real sweet, I liked it. And those things there was a difference there. And I thought a lot of times if we're not careful, we'll do that spiritually, if you would. We regain an appetite for the things that are less desirable, rather than gaining an appetite for the things that God has laid out for us.
Right.
And I thought it's important that we have the right kind of appetite. You see, we've all been born with an appetite. You take a young baby that's born, and you give it, naturally you're not going to give it a ribeye steak, but you're going to give it what it needs. And I thought, and nowadays they give it that formula, and that baby has an appetite, and it's going to desire that formula. Myself, I don't have no desire for baby formula. I've never tasted it. I don't have no desire to taste it because I have smelt it. And I thought, but that baby will grab that, and the reason it can develop that and it desires that is because it's not really developed a taste yet. And so therefore it just has an appetite, and it can eat that, and it can enjoy that. But I thought there comes a time in that child's life that it slowly begins to develop, and it begins to learn to like different things. I thought both of our kids were born in late summer. David was born in August, and last part of August. Laura's born in the 1st of September. But by Christmas of the same year, whenever we were fixing things, we began to give them country ham. And we'd let them suck that on that piece of meat, and they'd suck that salt out of that country ham, and them just babies. And they were learning to like that, and they're just a few months old, and because they began to develop a taste. And I thought if we're not careful, as we begin to develop those tastes and our appetite begins to grow, I thought, are we growing more for the spiritual things of life? Right. Are we growing more for the things and the things that we're desiring? Right. The fleshly things of life. And I thought, I don't want a child to stay on formula forever. I remember when Laura was just a baby, and we'd go out to eat, and I always ordered iced tea, and they'd stick a lemon on the side of that. And she was just a baby, and we'd take her in there in her car seat, and the first time we done it, we just seeing what her reaction was, and I put that lemon down there and let her suck the juice out of that lemon. And so every time we went out to eat, she learned, and she'd grab that lemon and she would suck the juice out of it. She learned to like that. She desired a taste for that. And even though I don't like it, and I thought that if we're not careful, we will begin to develop taste for things that maybe is not too desirable, if you would. I hope I'm helping you. I hope I'm making myself plain this evening. But I thought, we've got to have a desire and get a spiritual appetite for the things of God. And I thought you've got to have an appetite for it. I thought we came home from church this evening, and when we first got home, and like I said, I ate more breakfast than I normally eat. I usually don't eat that much. But she had took there at work, we take our bacon trim and we grind that, have ground bacon, and she took that ground bacon and put that in that iron skillet, and she fried that, and she made gravy with all that bacon in it. Brother, it was very good. And so I indulged on that because my appetite has come back, and I was able to enjoy that. And I thought a lot of times we need to get a taste for the things of God, that's all we're desiring. Is more and more and more of God and less and less and less of the things of this world. And I thought, I want more and more of God.
Yes.
And I thought, how do we get an appetite for the things of God? Is denying and withholding the things of the flesh. I thought we've got to learn to withhold those things.
Yep.
I thought, like I said, as we get older, our tastes change. There's a few things as a child that I would not eat that I still want to eat. And hominy is one of those. I'm just not going to eat hominy. Brother Sparks likes it. And Mom would always fix it when I was a kid. And I was always one of those that she fixed it. I've tried white hominy. I've tried yellow hominy. Neither one of them had no taste. I'm not eating it. But there's few things there's several things that as a kid I wouldn't eat. But as I got older and I began to eat those, and as my taste began to change, then I realized I like those things. And I would, so I began to eat. And then there was a lot of things that I enjoyed whenever I was younger and I was a kid. And now I don't like. Because my taste has changed. And the thing is because I began to eat those other things, and I began to lay off these things back here, then whenever I went back and those other things that I used to enjoy, then I don't enjoy those no more.
Right.
And I thought that's the way it is with God. When we begin to take on more and more and more of the spiritual aspects of life, and we begin to lay down those things, then those things are less desirable to us. We don't have a desire to go back and pick those things up no more. I thought we're not tempted with those things. I mean, maybe it was Brother Sparks the other night said, I don't know who it was, somebody was talking about smoking. You can lay a pack of cigarettes in front of me, and I have no desire to pick those things up. I can walk by, I don't like to, but if you go to Walmart and you go down the beverage aisle, you have to walk past the alcohol drink things there. I thought, I don't have no desire to turn to the right and pick those things up whenever the water and things that I want sitting on the left side of the aisle. I thought, no, I'm not tempted with those things. And I thought, because I pushed those things away. And I thought that's the way it is with the spiritual things of God. When we begin to intake those things, when we begin to desire more and more of those things, then the things of this flesh are less enticing to us. I thought, but if we're not careful with speed, we feed that worldly appetite rather than that spiritual appetite. And I thought, like I said, and by doing that, by learning to have more and more of God, then we are expanding our appetite. I'm not no great cook. I used to cook quite a bit, especially when Sister Kathy worked. Most of the time I got home before she did, and I cooked a whole lot. She don't work now, and so most of the time when I get home, she's done either preparing or got something prepared to eat. But I do like to cook out on the grill and on the smoker and different things like that. And I thought, and you learn to advance, you learn to develop. And Sister Pauline's son Daniel is a chef. He went to school to learn how to cook, and he's working there with us now. And we've got a little test kitchen there, and he'll get in there. They'll ask him to learn to make something, and they'll give him an idea, and he'll go in and he just starts grabbing stuff and just throwing it together and trying to develop a new product. And I thought he'll pass it around and everybody taste it, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. A lot of times, about a lot of them there that have more of that, I guess I call it rich appetite. They like those things, and I thought, but I thought the thing is, the more and more you eat it, the more you like it. And I thought, so the more and more we take of God, the more we like it. But the more we take it of this world, the more we're liking it. And I thought, but what are we feeding? I like old cars. And yesterday after the shower here, we went down to Boonesboro. They was having a car show, and I took Kyla with me. And I like cars in general. And I look at old Fords the same way I look at old Chevrolets. But my preference to work on, I like Ford. Chevrolets. A small block Chevy's just easy to work on. But Colin yesterday, he was walking by and he began to look at these different cars. And he told his mama, well, I like that, but that's Ford. Why was he saying that? Because he's heard me and his daddy talk about Fords. He don't even drive. But yet, because of our preference, he's developed a preference. And I thought a lot of times we do the same thing. We look at somebody else's desire, and we begin to think, well, maybe that's what I need to do. And I thought we begin to see a church world that begins to draw further and further away from sound doctrine, and closer and closer and closer to the things of the world, and we might look and say, well, maybe that's okay. Maybe I need to go that direction. But what kind of appetite are we developing? I thought I want to develop more and more of the things of God. I thought Philippians 3:13, he says, brethren, I count not myself to apprehend but this one thing. Forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are before. I thought we've got to advance with God. I thought we can't just sit still. I thought, like I said, the best appetite is a growing appetite. And I read this today, and it brought back a memory. And as most of us have probably seen it, I don't have a TV now, but years ago we did. And I believe it was, I don't even know which series it was. But we all remember Mikey. Yeah. And Life cereal, I believe it was. And the little boys didn't want to eat it. And they said, let's see if Mikey likes it. And Mikey ate the whole bowl, and they said, he likes it. Yeah. And because he liked it, then they realized, hey, maybe I would like some of that. And I thought when we begin to get God in us just real good, and the world begins to look around and they're saying, hey, they're liking that. Then they're going to start desiring what we have. Brother Sparks made mention the other night, how are we going to see the churches full? When we get the fire of God moving inside the churches. And we get the power of God moving. And we start seeing people healed. And we start seeing things happen. I'm just 52 years old. I'm getting old, but I'm not old. But in my time, I can remember going to churches, and I don't recommend it happen, which we got churches now there and all those things, but I can remember going to churches, and the doors opened, and the sinner standing out on the porch of the church. And Pea Ridge was bad for that, but I remember going to Lower Red Lick when I was a kid, and there'd be several sinners standing out on the front porch of the church while church was going on, looking to see who might get saved tonight, or who might get healed tonight, or who's going to shout tonight, or who's going to get the Holy Ghost tonight. I thought they were coming looking to see what was going to happen. Because they was expecting something.
That's it.
And I thought if we're not careful, we don't come expecting enough from God. I thought, but I want to learn to expect more from Him. I thought as they come against the song tonight, well, I hope I've helped you. But I thought, like I said, I want to have an appetite that's growing more and more and more for the things of God. I read a little story. It said that most of us remember Andre the Giant. He was a wrestler back in, I guess, late 70s, 80s. I don't remember. I remember him, but just a big old guy. And I read a story said that he went into a restaurant and sat down, and the waitress, trying to be funny, looked at the 7-foot man that weighed almost 550 pounds and said, would you like a bowl of soup? So Andre looked up at her, got the menu, and ordered one of everything on the menu. And said after sitting and eating for 6.5 hours, he got up and left the restaurant. That was a mighty big appetite. And I thought, I want an appetite that goes beyond a bowl of soup. I like soup, but I thought, I don't want soup every day. I thought, I like milk, but I don't want no baby formula. I don't want that stuff under my nose. I thought if I eat a bowl of chili, then the best thing I've got to drink with chili, that's just the way I've always been. I would like to have a good glass of cold milk. But I thought, I want something to go with my milk. I'm not going to just sit down and just drink milk. I might put some cornbread in it. I enjoy it that way. But I've had to put some substance with the milk. And I thought, we need an appetite that's got substance tonight.
Yes.
So give us a song. I hope I've helped you. But I thought, what do we have an appetite for? Are we desiring more and more of God? Or have we found ourselves leaning more and more and more toward the things of this world? I thought, whatever we're feeding on is what we're going to desire. It's just natural. I was at the house today, and Kenley's been coming to the house on Thursday nights, and I heard Kathy say something about ice cream, and I guess time goes by so fast, and she was saying, I'm going to make sure I've got ice cream here in time for Kenley Thursday. That must have been last Thursday, and I was thinking this Thursday. We got through eating dinner, and I thought, well, I'd like to have some ice cream, but she hasn't got none. So I didn't even look for it. I was going to sit down. And after a while, she came by, and she handed me an ice cream. Well, I ate that. She didn't know that I wanted that ice cream, but I did. I didn't even think it was there, but I got it. And I thought, sometimes the Lord knows exactly, all the time, He knows exactly what we're needing.
Right.
And I thought, sometimes we don't even have to ask, but it's His desire for us to ask of Him, that He can feed us the things that we're needing. Does that give us a song tonight? Let's pray.